Some prominent social scientists believe that outside of Europe, the experiences with early statehood had some negative consequences. Think of the Aztec Empire, rich in the past, but not so rich today. Similarly, in Africa, there's an idea that early statehood was an impediment to democracy. Right? The idea is that early African states were autocratic and that they were able to slow down and block the introduction of European democratic institutions. Now, obviously, the idea is problematic for a number of reasons, but the key thing I want to highlight is that it's very institutional in nature. The argument says that because of early states that were autocratic, there was a slower development of democratic institutions in Africa. What I argue instead is that it may be the case that early African states were indeed not so good for democracy, but the main reason is that these early autocratic rulers socialized their people into believing fundamentally undemocratic values, such as that they alone were fit to rule and nobody else really would have input into politics. And I also argue that we still see the aftershocks, the after effects of this sort of autocratic socialization in African politics today. Right? So my argument is more about the values that are involved in early statehood than about the institutions. Now, already before arriving at Notre Dame, I and two of my colleagues at Ohio State published an article where we linked pre-colonial centralization to ordinary people's autocratic attitudes. What I want to do here at the Institute is to look at other aspects of early statehood, at things like the different selection mechanisms that polities use to choose their leaders, such as election or nomination or inheritance. And I want to see if they too might have some impact on the basic political values that people hold. And ultimately, I think this is a potentially important project because if the average person in Africa or anywhere else does not think that democracy is worth saving, then indeed the odds of democracy surviving are not very good. Thank you.